Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, brought a Chillmonger.
Good after midnight. You you pointed to the side that I wasn't sitting on because it's a mirror on the
Well,
webcams.
I went.
Uh,
it was the drama, man. It was the pause for effect. Actually, that was just me covering. I'm trying to gaslight you and make you think like, no, I knew exactly which way to turn. So anyway, what's going on, bro?
doing okay. Here to talk about that Marvel, and then a little bit of DC.
DC, who's that? Aye. So if we're talking about Marvel, what Marvel should we talk about?
Oh, we got to go to the movies. We've got to go to a certain Marvel whose name is pronounced often mispronounced. It's not Mrs. Marvel, right? Right.
All right, right.
It's not Miss Marvel because
No,
that's
no,
MISS, right?
no. Mhm.
But it's a MS. Okay, I effed up what I
You're
tried to
so
say.
Canadian. You said Zed.
It's not multiple sclerosis. Oh, that's what you're laughing at? That's the funny part?
Yes.
Oh. Well, a woman by the name of Iman Vellani has been casted to play Ms. Marvel in the MCU, according to a
Hells
Deadline
yes.
article. You know her?
No, no, I'm not familiar with it at all. I'm just hells yes. Like we
No word.
finally got. We knew this last week, but we didn't want to report on it because it was still like heavy rumor mills. So I'm like, it's all but solidified. Like they could last minute say no, never mind, but nah. I mean, like we were pretty sure, but it wasn't guaranteed. We hate the rumor mill.
The deadline is sahih, to put it in an Arabic word.
Well,
The
at least it's
director.
not sihr. That
Oh,
would be
God.
bad.
No one
Sihr
gets
means
that.
magic. Sihr means magic in Arabic. So pretty much factual is what Chillmonger is saying. So a good source. So
Halal.
it's halal. That would be like kosher. That means it's coming from it's been sanctified. So anyway, we got yeah, Ms. Marvel is going to be showing up. That's not a small thing. They're talking about a lot of other stories popping up because of this. Not a lot of stories being explained from here, but a lot of other stories popping up from here, including a possible reboot of the Inhumans, guaranteed Black Bolt, because Lockjaw is almost a cinch to be in there. I mean, there's so much that's supposed to spring from here, the starting grounds, without it actually being the origins. Probably more on that later in the podcast, right?
Would it even be a reboot of the Inhumans though if they don't even recognize that version of the Inhumans as being?
If there was already Inhumans and then they just said, "Up, up, we're ignoring that, and here's a new one," yeah, that's a reboot. You can't just ignore it, or you can't just say I ignored this. That's a reboot.
I don't really get it. The Inhuman Terrigen mist gas that's going across the globe. That seems like something that the MCU can't just not address. It is
Hmm.
possible in one of the Disney Plus shows that Terrigen mist gets exposed and it goes around, and then the next series that we get is Magnificent Ms. Marvel.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, they dropped. They're not using Magnificent, are they?
No, they're
Mm.
just Ms. Marvel right now. They
Is
they're dropping it like Vince McMahon drops first names.
oh man.
So this isn't a shabby thing at all. Like I said, a lot of stuff should be springing from Ms. Marvel specifically, and all awesomeness to the actor. There was another person who was rumored to get the role. Did you hear about what's her name? Karina? Is it Karina? I think it's Karina.
What's she famous for?
She's famous for breaking an NDA. Her name is Dua. There we go. At Led O Mas Film, Dua. She was she said, okay, now that the thing is over, blah blah blah, whatever. I guess it's safe for me to say that I'd actually gotten a call to do this, and I went and I did an audition. So she did the audition, whatever, blah blah blah. But her fans didn't believe her. They were calling out like, "Oh, you're full of crap." So she decided to post 4 images of the script, the actual official script. Sorry,
Yes.
there were four
Yikes.
images, but only 3 of those images was the script. The fourth image was of her non-disclosure agreement. She not only deleted the tweet, which didn't help. We know that tweet and delete doesn't work. She deleted her whole freaking Instagram account or like her Twitter or whatever. She's like, I need to go off the freaking map. I need to go off the grid.
You see, casting young comes with its perks. There's authenticity and there's
Yes.
idiocracy with the at word.
Idiocracy. This is kind of like Tom Holland, right? Think about it. Tom Holland wasn't this bad. When he has his oops moments, it's not like, oh yeah, I accidentally mailed you the script. Oh my god. So yeah, like it's a young person, whatever, it happens. You know what I'm saying?
3 pages of his script. Is that
Mhm.
like what 30 minutes of the show, or is that something small like 3 minutes of the show?
It could very well be nothing to do with the show at all because it's just a reading. So it could be something completely different. Oftentimes they don't want to give anything away. And how many times have we seen that? Like uh, Captain Marvel, Brie Larson. She read for Star Wars, didn't know what she was reading for.
You said Star Wars.
Star Wars, isn't that the thing that we reported on several weeks ago? She
I
said she
forgot,
read for a role on Star Wars, but she didn't know what the role was going to be for.
but
So,
she
and even
wasn't in
after
Star Wars.
I know she didn't get the role. She said this on her one thing, her YouTube channel that she's on now, 31 roles that I didn't get. Anyway,
Wow.
she mentioned in there that, hey, I applied for it. I did a reading. Even after I saw the movie, I didn't see the stuff that I read. So did they scrap the whole character or what? I don't know. But anyway, boom, that had happened.
So she could have been auditioning for Ray.
She could have very well been auditioning for
It's,
Ray. You'd figure, right?
it's a different set of lines, though. Okay.
Hell's yes.
So
So
likewise with
it
this.
could have, yeah, exactly. It could have likewise been the same thing. Probably would have been the same thing. Same company, right? Disney. So they're probably a lot smarter than that, just in case. What I am curious of is how much does an NDA reflect on a child? Because there are a lot of things that you can't hold a child for. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm studying immigration law here in Canada, and a lot of that involves criminal law, criminality, and what do you call it? Like you could do things as a child in Canada that you could never even suggest as an adult, no lie, and actually get away with. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, does that affect the parents? That's what
That
I'm more curious
that
of.
affects your reputation, and Marvel doesn't want to sue a child
That is true. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like, how does that look? It's like we're suing this 14-year-old. How dare she
for a
for
script
for
that's not
being a
even
child?
the same script we're using in the show. It's just a script that we have for readings. Yeah, they'll go.
Exactly. Iman actually, it's Iman, right? Yeah, Iman Vellani. She what do you call it? She said that she saw Captain Marvel, the movie, and didn't like it, but she loves Brie
Oh,
Larson and her films, her other films. So that was it. That was an interesting thing. Like she's honest. She's got that childlike honesty. I dig that. I
wait, when did
appreciate
she
that.
say that though?
This was a couple days ago. It was over. I think it was over a tweet. I forget where my source is for that. Do I actually still have it up?
Okay, from my understanding, it's something she put in 2018 before she was ever casted. It was just something that opinion she held at the time. I
Okay.
didn't know that it was a new thing that she came out and said. That would be stupid.
Well, whatever. This is
But
just something that I'd seen, and it's like,
but
okay,
but what does
good to
that
know.
do for you though? That kind of makes you, the people who hate Captain Marvel might actually look at you and be like, "Oh, we're gonna give this Iman a shot." Yeah.
Well, to be honest, yes, because she's not trying to gaslight people. That's the thing. Like, you can like something, you can not like something, as long as you're honest with yourself about it. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you recognize that other people could like it too. When you like, when I don't like something, case in point, when I don't like case in point, Mr. Bendis, you know what I'm saying? When I don't like Mr. Bendis's work, that doesn't reflect on him as a person. If I don't like somebody as a person, but I like their work, I'll mention that. You know what I'm saying? But just in utter hatred and not liking, so I've had lots of people, lots of writers and artists especially, who are appreciative of my criticism when I do reviews because they say, at least you didn't just say, oh, it was garbage, it was trash, and move on. You actually gave me something I can work with, and you weren't a jerk about it. So likewise, she just said, hey, it was a very honest thing. If this is something she said back in 2018, wow, even better that she didn't have anything over her head. So it's cool. And as long as she continues to stand by that and doesn't turn around and is like, no, I loved Captain Marvel, it was a great movie.
Nah, man. The
It's like,
second time I saw it, I actually appreciated it more. I should have saw it a second time in the theaters.
I should have realized, so I
They were
grew up and
building
I
something with the scrolls.
oh man. Yeah, as much as I appreciate everything that happened in that movie, even my kids are like, "Dad, this is like the one Marvel movie I can't sit and watch the whole way through." I love the ending, but it's a hard watch to get to the end to that ending. Hey, it's cool. I don't, I'm not gonna, berate my kids for it. No, everybody's opinion is their own. It's all valid. What else we got?
You know what my opinion is on Ms. Marvel and
Uh-oh.
everyone celebrating that she's the first ever Muslim superhero in Marvel, and this is great. I have the opinion that my religion being validated in a movie or appearing in a movie doesn't make it more correct or more incorrect. Let's move away from that. We don't need representation in religion. I need representation in faces, colors, skin colors, looks. As far as faith goes, that's a non-issue for me. So let's not celebrate that.
Is
Please and
it?
thank you.
No, it's all good. Hey, curious, what did you think about Soraya Dust?
She's authentic.
You weren't reading. Yeah, I believe that she very well is.
Because remember
Um,
when she was in Limbo and she saw not Mephisto, Belasco, and
mhm.
like, oh, if this was real, she'd be like Shaitan, and she's like, "A'udhu billah," and I'm like, yeah, okay, she's being really the way that I'm like Craig Kyle Yost, and Chris Yost. Those guys nailed the character.
How's yes. More than that, she's a woman who dresses in full abaya,
Hmm.
not just a regular hijab or a niqab or anything. No, a full abaya,
When I watched the Ms.
a
Marvel,
burqa. In fact,
yeah,
almost a burqa.
it's a
Yeah,
niqab, and in
yeah.
Ms. Marvel, when she appears in the Captain Marvel 2 movie, I'm not. It's not going to be like a Muslim movie. Like they're
Hmm.
not going to have showtimes post sunset because there's a
Hmm.
prayer that's supposed to be going on. The women
Yeah.
won't be in their hijabs in that movie. Let's
Hmm.
not act like this is the Muslim showing, the Muslim showcase.
It's the idea that she took the stuff off and you could actually see her hair in the comic books. There were people who were really upset. It's like she would never show this. It's like she was showing in front of a doctor, she was showing in front of other women, and she was showing in private, meaning not really showing to anybody, but the reader can see these things. Yeah,
There's a
dude, you
scene
don't.
with a doctor. Are you sure about that?
Yes,
Which
in
issue was
some of
that?
her earlier appearances. No, I'm talking about Soraya
Yeah, when did
Dust
she?
in the comics.
Which comic?
Um, Dude, I don't know. This was back in 2008, I think it was 2009. Anyway,
Was
it was
that when she
something.
was burnt by magma and Beast was studying her?
Yes, yes, it was back
Okay.
then. So, nice. So, I said before this podcast started, you've read more than enough X-Men to be considered an expert in this. I don't care what anybody has to
I've
say
read
about it.
X-Men post 2000, like, yeah, like the Grant Morrison stuff. That's when I
Hmm.
started reading.
Nice. But anyway, just for the sake of conversation for everybody, the niqab means the face veil, whether it's just covering the nose and under or something that covers between the eyes also and just shows like slits. The hijab is an actual headscarf. Abaya means all of the flowing robes so as to not see the form of the person underneath. So, and burqa is that stuff that you see in Afghanistan with the bee. They look like beekeepers.
And
Heck, they
Kamala
could turn
Khan
it
wears.
yellow. They could turn it yellow and they could look like Hydra agents or AIM agents. What were you saying?
I was gonna say that Kamala Khan doesn't wear that, but I was also gonna say
No,
that it's
but
funny
Soraya
in
does.
France you can get fined for not wearing a mask, but in France you can also get fined if you're wearing a niqab because they like are very hateful in that country.
Yes, they are. At the same time, a lot of it is also them trying to preserve their culture. And plus, when you're there and you find Muslims who speak French only, well, because they choose to only speak French, even when they understand, like I don't understand French, especially when I was there. I didn't understand any French, except like, voulez boucacher à toi, and, the good stuff like that. Um, yeah, it's my horrible pronunciation of would you like to have a threesome? But anyway, when I went there, yeah, I didn't speak any French. This guy didn't speak any English, but we both spoke Arabic, but he only spoke to me in French. And I had to interpret a lot of what he was saying based on my horrible French because he refused to speak in Arabic. It was literally just like it's a culture there that everybody seems to inherit for whatever reason. Burkinis aren't permitted there. That I find very strange.
Ms. Marvel wears a burkini.
Does she?
Yeah, that's what that little spandex thing is a burkini.
Get out of town. Nice.
It's a stupid thing, by the way. There's no such thing as a burkini.
What, in the religion?
Yeah, like it
People
shows your
sell
body.
burkinis, whatever, man.
Jamie Foxx is coming. How though?
Yes.
I'm very confused as how he's gonna be playing Electro in the new movie that's a Marvel Studios movie where Tom Holland is Spider-Man. So when
Hmm.
they said Spider-Man 3, I'm like, oh, Garfield's coming back. It'll be a third Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man. No,
Hmm.
he's gonna be here. So are we just like the same way that J.K. Simmons plays the role of J. Jonah Jameson? It's like the
An
same.
older, balder Jameson, yes.
Right. So we just got to assume that this is the way that Electro looks in this universe also. I'm sure George Washington is the same first president in both universes, and some people just match.
Yes, but in this version, Abraham Lincoln is a vampire slayer. So here's the thing: he's not going to be the same Electro. He's not going to be blue in this one.
Yeah, so different universe, but same actor, same look.
Hmm.
The 23 chromosomes from his mom, and the 23 chromosomes from his dad were the same. He just won't turn blue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fine. The power set is a little bit different. The visual of the power set. Here's the thing. A lot of us are looking at this as all of this is going to be explained in WandaVision. When I said earlier, the only other thing we talked about was Miss Marvel, the idea that the beginnings will happen there, but not the origins. The origins for Phase 2, we're already seeing that all of these origins are stemming from WandaVision. WandaVision is right now set
Phase
to be
4.
Phase 4. You're right. My bad. Is already set to be the most important show to watch. When you talk about must-see TV, this is you don't understand anything if you're gonna be nothing but questions if you don't watch WandaVision. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're expecting all of this is going to be explained there. The uh, J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson, why he's older and balder, the idea of Andrew Garfield apparently coming back. Like all of this stuff is stuff that's strong rumor mill. So I expect honestly by the next podcast that we're going to be talking about, oh, it's been confirmed that Andrew Garfield is back and things along those lines. We'll see.
Man, in the Doctor Strange movie, why not?
Yeah, yeah, if we see something like that there.
He'd be like, I need Spider Man. I need another Spider Man. And he opens a hole. Yeah.
Yeah, one just isn't going to do it. We got to have a Spider Verse.
But it's very comic booky, this new multiverse thing. And Marvel's doing it, so is DC. They're introducing that too.
Hmm.
Where we got different versions of Batman,
Yeah, because they're doing the Flashpoint without it being Flashpoint.
but it's kind of Flashpoint.
Yeah, it's pretty Flashpointish.
We're ready for it now. Like these,
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie going audience, they can see that after seeing Endgame and time travel, quantum realms, that kind of stuff. We're there.
Yeah, the explanation is there. I mean, Back to the Future is still a thing. For crying out loud, they make Back to the Future masks for kids nowadays. I mean, my kid has a Back to the Future T-shirt. It's new. It's retro. It's not like hand me down. You know what I'm saying? I bought it like 2 months ago. So I mean, like Back to the Future is still a thing. I expect that to be rebooted any day now.
Oh yeah, they reboot everything. They're making
Yes, they do.
a second Lion King reanimated movie.
Because of course they are. I just found out the Thomas Crown Affair that I saw with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo is actually a reboot. I just found that out hours ago, and I looked and I was like, "What? Thomas Crown Affair was done back in 1958 or whatever. When did that happen?" So I was shocked. They just keep on rebooting everything. They just rebooted The Grudge this year for 2020. They just rebooted The Grudge.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the original in theaters not too terribly long ago. Like that, dude. Like they're rebooting things while they're still fresh. They still haven't rebooted The Last Dragon. What's up with that? I need freaking Samuel L. Jackson as Shonuff. You know, you haven't seen that movie, have you?
No.
That's on you. Anyway, that's one of those movies you would actually like. So yeah, there's a lot that we're expecting to see. Disney Plus is the damn thing.
It's got Hawkeye too. You have news on that?
It does. I do. With Hawkeye and the Hawkeyes that are going to be in this, they're already announcing that Maya Lopez is going to show up. Echo. They had already put out a cast, and we assumed this. It was a very easy assumption. They were already looking for a deaf Native American, Indigenous, First Nations actor. So clearly somebody from the NAFTA region, and or somebody who's Latinx, the white person word for Latino or Latina, specifically Latina in this case. So they shouldn't have said Latinx. They should have specifically said Latina because they don't want a guy for it, right? So anyway, yeah. Which, I mean, who else could that possibly be but Echo? Are you familiar with the character?
No.
She was technically the first Ronin. When they first made Ronin, everybody just knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that this was freaking Daredevil. I mean, duh. You know what I'm saying? It's a character who is deaf and ninja-like abilities, and just like it's Daredevil, it's Daredevil. And
You said
Marvel
deaf.
got wind of
You
it.
said deaf 2 times, but Daredevil's blind. Did you mean deaf or did you mean blind?
Crap, I meant deaf.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh shoot, wait, what was this? I'm pretty sure they thought it was Daredevil. Anyway, boom, there was all of that, and then they wound up interposing Echo in there instead. Like, okay, let's do things a little bit different. So they made her they made it a female, they made it deaf and all this stuff, so that all of a sudden they would kind of throw everybody off.
Yeah, it's a
And it's like,
funny name
okay,
too for someone who's
interesting.
deaf to be called Echo.
Exactly. So it was clearly supposed to be Daredevil with everything there. But anyway, so boom. And then later on, it wound up being Hawkeye taking up the mantle of Ronin. So yeah. So anyway, it just makes sense that they're going to have a Ronin character there since he was also Ronin in the movie. So yeah, the Endgame, right?
Great movie.
I agree.
Highest grossing film of all time.
Hey, is there any more Disney Plus news?
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. So Emily Van Camp, who plays Agent 13, Sharon Carter, the niece of Peggy Carter, who kissed Cap, and then Cap went on to marry her aunt. It's all good, man. It's all good. Whatever. They were paying homage to the comics, and they went and did their own thing anyway. So she's going to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and she just wrapped up production yesterday. So
She or the whole show?
not the show,
Oh.
she. So her role finished. She put down, that's a wrap. Always love returning to this character. And then showed Agent 13, name written on the chair, her chair to sit on, but it's empty. So nice.
But
nice.
it's
So,
empty.
yeah, the chair is empty because she's taking the picture of it. She's not in it. It's a wrap. Boom, bye. If the director's chair is over, obviously the movie's over. So yeah, she's not the director, but so her role is a wrap. That's finished, done. So the movie's getting that much closer to being done. Shows that they're actually still currently working on it. I ain't complaining.
Yeah, get it completed. Don't rush it out because a good TV series is going to be good forever. A rushed one will be rushed and incomplete
Darn right.
forever.
Even if it's going to be some kind of a rebooted thing.
A rebooted? What do you mean?
I don't know. What's the next thing we're supposed to be talking about?
Conan the Barbarian.
So what is the Riddle of Steel? You've never seen that movie, did you?
No.
Just die. Just go away, man. What the frick? Anyway, I just showed. It was on Netflix or Amazon Prime or both, and I just said to my wife, I was like, "This is probably one of the greatest movies ever made." And she's like, "You have a crush on Arnold Schwarzenegger, don't you?" I was like, "What if I do?" So anyway, Conan and what is the Riddle of Steel, my boy, my son? Freaking amazing movie, and now it's going to be a TV series.
Oh.
Coming to Netflix. About damn time, because we were supposed to have one 2 years ago. They announced that they were shopping, trying to get it done for Amazon, because Amazon was looking for something that was Lord of the Rings like for their show, for their TV shows, Amazon Prime, and they were shopping around the idea of a prequel for Lord of the Rings, and yeah, no, they weren't interested in that. And then Conan came up with like, yeah, but that was some Game of Thrones people who were pitching that, and they said no. This seems to be an entirely different thing, which is going to be a Netflix original TV series. So live action, all new people involved. Jason Momoa is not going to be in this one. I noticed people were like, no, we did a good job. And other people were like, he sucked. And I just looked at it as I could see the first 10 minutes of the movie and I turned it off because I just wasn't interested. Hate me if you want. I really don't care. Um, I wasn't interested. I went back and I watched the first hour of it like 2 years later to give it a chance. I couldn't. It was just, to me, it was just horrible. And I just moved on. I still haven't seen the end. I still don't know how the damn movie ended. Don't really care either. They were planning on making what is it? The Thulsa Doom movie with DG Hanselman. All these different ideas, rebooting Red Sonja, all these different ideas that they've been having, and it's like, nah, I think we're kind of done. So now it's supposed to be coming to Amazon Prime. I genuinely believe that this is going to happen, but it's in development currently for Netflix, and I can't complain about that, dude.
Yeah, okay. You can get a whole lot of storytelling on a Netflix series. Red
Oh yeah.
Sonja, all that.
Mm-hmm. Next,
Nightbreed, excuse me.
Nightbreed. Clearly another movie you haven't seen. A book called Cabal that you haven't read from this guy named Clive Barker. Hey, let me ask you something, young man. Do you know what this is?
It's a cube.
It's not a Borg cube. So the people on the podcast, what I have here is a lament configuration.
Oh,
This
Lament
is
configuration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing. Of course, you knew that is. Anyway, this is from Hellraiser, the movie Hellraiser, Clive Barker's first really big movie, and where you summon demons called Centibites. They'll tear your soul apart. And anyway, that's not the only amazing thing that he's done. He's also created Nightbreed, this book he did called Cabal about these half monsters who most of them seem to resemble vampires in some way, shape, or form, but all of the bedtime stories that you get, they're basically these monsters. And it was not the highest budget film in the world, but it is an amazing story. And it blew me away. Even my wife had to look at it. She's like, as low budget as this is a freaking masterpiece. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. And they're going to make this into a TV series on Netflix also. So I am seriously looking forward to this because there is so much steeped myth in here. They're currently making toys. They've been making toys for them, action figures for the past several months. So they've been ramping up a lot, and I can't wait to see what the final result of this TV show is going to be.
Who's the nerd working at Netflix getting all of this stuff right?
Geniuses, absolute geniuses. This is one of those things where I'm just like, dude, I every single one of us is like, I need to go into casting so I could, get my ideas out there. And you're saying nobody says that about Kevin Feige. There is not one numbnut out there who's just like, Kevin Feige doesn't know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Likewise, like your opinion is nobody should be saying that about Netflix and their original TV series right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. They're doing a good job. Entertain me.
The Witcher is an adaptation also, isn't it?
That's right. It's an adaptation from a book that was turned into video games. I think 3 video games, and now uh TV series and stuff. And season 2 is already I think it's already in production. I'm not sure. That's not one of the things that we usually talk about is The Witcher. If you want to, we could, but I just remember seeing something. I was like, oh, they're doing stuff on Witcher 2 already. Awesome. They're casting people, so they're definitely not. Yeah, it might be pre-production, but they're not filming anything yet.
Yeah, nobody's doing any filming except for Tyler Perry, who owns his own property and makes his own little bubble.
Well, again, Emily Van Camp just got finished saying that she finished
Oh,
her
them too.
role.
Yeah, I
So,
guess they're completing something. Yeah,
hmm
Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness.
that's right. So Benedict Cumberbatch was asked, "When are you guys going to start filming?" And he says, "Early or late October or early November." That's it. That's all the news I have for that.
That kind of relates to what I was saying. Yeah, that no one's starting yet.
Exactly. So hopefully none of that stuff gets booted. Like the 2020 Disney Expo thing is going to be moved back to 2022 now or something like that. Like dude, everything's just being moved back, which how about you just simply do it as an online thing? You know, They don't have to. I don't know. Do you have to make $1 million to advertise something?
But if movie theaters will be closed for a year, or at least big box office movies won't come out for a year, what do they really have to talk about?
Mm, just stuff that they're looking to do, and I get it that some of the theaters are going to be closed. Yeah, I know they gotta figure their lives out a little bit more. They really do.
So it
Let's.
sounds like they did figure it out, and they're like, we have nothing to talk about for the next year, so let's lay off for a year.
I guess you're not wrong in that. Year and a half minimum. Ugh, that's just terrible.
I know it stinks. I really wanted to see that Black Widow movie and Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong in that.
All eyes on WandaVision.
Hey.
Warner Brothers news. Go ahead.
Okay, so Warner Brothers, they just bought the Black comic book rights for so basically this is, how do I explain this? I never read this comic book series, but I'm sure as hell going to now. I think I've seen it in passing. Anyway, this is from Black Mask comic book. It's basically black superheroes. I guess we're supposed to say African Americans. They're black superheroes who, like, only black people in this world can get superpowers. Nobody else can get superpowers. But it's still very culturally fitting in its own way. Like I said, I've got to read it to understand it better. But apparently, this was like a big cult hit and whatnot. And the idea that Warner Brothers jumped on this is interesting to me
Because they
because
have DC.
they have DC. Yeah, like that's part of it. It's like this feels like this is something that Amazon or Netflix even would jump on. You know what I'm saying? Like not DC, and yet they're jumping on this. Huh? Interesting. It's also especially interesting since they are being sued, according to an article by Deadline. They're being sued right now for gender discrimination and harassment.
Warner
Interesting.
Brothers and Michael B. Jordan made this thing where casting will be diverse and there's a quota of backstage personnel on films. And Warner Brothers is like the most inclusive studio that there is. So to see them getting sued is crazy.
This is what people are saying, but
Mm.
it's always easy to say something and not actually be able to back it up. Sometimes, like gaslighting or telling people what to think is often the best marketing that somebody can think of, which when you have to market these things as opposed to just do these things, it's a shame. By the way, you know where I found that article from?
You said Deadline?
Oh, well, I found the Deadline article through Ray Fisher, because damn it, we have to bring up Ray Fisher every single week.
He's a weekly staple.
What do you call it? Accountability over entertainment, baby. Bang. Let's move on.
You made me think about this new Oscars, like a checklist of each movie to be nominated needs all this. And I don't think that's right because
No.
some stories do require an all blank color cast. And by this criteria, Star Wars, 1977, wouldn't have gotten nominated for anything.
Exactly. But you know what would have been nominated for something? Movies like Blindside, where like here's this big black dude who, like, wow, you're awesome, except you suck. What you need is a good white woman to save you. You remember that football movie?
Story.
Yeah, it's supposed to be based on a true story, but it's funny. There's lots of movies out there that do that. But here's this thing.
White woman saved him, and it is worth creating a movie off of it. And I congratulate that family.
But then how this movie was made? I'm sorry. What's that one part in there where they said, "Coach, don't you know? Don't you look at his aptitude scores? He scored highest in protection and defense." I'm sorry. SATs, or Canadians don't usually take SATs because they're voluntary. What do you call it? What test have you ever taken in your life? Canada, what test have I ever taken in America that determines your defense ability and stuff like that? Jesus, in the army, I never took that. Where did that come from? This is the most ridiculous line I've ever heard in a movie. Even before I realized that this is one of those white savior, before I knew what a white savior movie was, and I'm sitting there watching this movie, I was like, this is a really good movie. But that one line even the first time I watched this was just, what the hell does that mean? Who takes tests that would determine if you're defensive or not? Yeah, no, sorry. It's ridiculous. Oh man.
Okay. I think Daniel Bryan had a test on in the WWE, and his score mm, r- revealed that he's the least ambitious person on the roster.
I guess if that's work related, sure. I don't know. Like, dude, they didn't even say like, oh, he was voted for his high school class to be most likely to be a defensive quarterback or something. Like, dude, this is just stupid. And again, this was probably the most fair of the white savior movies since it was based on a true story anyway. But nonetheless, dude, yeah, these are the movies that would pass by Hollywood standards. The white savior movies would pass because look, a diverse crew of people like freaking freedom writers. You know what I'm saying? Here's a mostly black school and Hispanic school and blah 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 blah. And but this one white woman wearing pearls, she is the only person who can save these poor, destitute, colored kids. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Explain to me the significance of pearls, real quick.
No, you're gonna have to watch the movie and see how ridiculous that is.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, no,
I
like, come on, like
I
I'm
haven't
so
seen the movie Mulan to see how ridiculous it is. You got any updates?
yeah. Turns out that the Mulan movie, Disney has been hiding all this up. We know this. That's why we're going to second and third parties to try and figure out how much they're making and whatnot. But they're keeping all of this stuff on the hush hush. And
They'll do a
until they
big
actually
conference call, I think, in November.
exactly. Once that's exactly what I was about to say is once they start giving their investor report, they mandatory have to divulge how much they got. It's an investor call, bro. You know what I'm saying? Those are mandatory. There's nothing else you could do about it now. So all
Bec-
secrets will be revealed.
that's because they're a publicly traded company, not private.
Exactly.
They
Correct.
can't lie to their shareholders.
Precisely.
They
Well,
they shouldn't.
they can't well no, legal it's illegal to lie to your shareholders. So they can, but they may not. If you
Hmm.
do, you're looking at getting fined unless you have a top team of lawyers, which I mean Disney, top team of lawyers, that doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, we're gonna see. We're gonna see what's up. Either way, it's the idea that they should be transparent all the time, but they're not transparent all the time. Only when that quarterly investor meeting comes up. So anyway, yeah,
That's
that's
how
about to
everyone
happen.
is.
No, I agree. But right now we're talking about Disney, so boom. And you know what? I'm the guy who likes to punch up. So boom, I'm punching up. Disney's the biggest there is. Let's talk about them. But we still do have some idea of what's going on because this podcast will released on Sunday, the 4th of October. But on the upcoming Tuesday, it's not coming to DVD yet, but it is going to be released to other premium streaming services like Amazon, Vudu, and Fandango Now. I never even heard of Fandango Now until just now. So they're going to be releasing it to them so that Amazon can say, hey, for $30 or whatever, you can maybe they'll do it for cheaper. You can, you know, download the movie now, rent the movie now for like 3 days or whatever. They
Hmm.
usually do things for like $4.99 or $14.95, whatever. So they're releasing it over there, hoping to recoup some money before the investor call. Clearly, before the investor call, because they've still got it that hey, it's going to be free to Disney Plus subscribers on November 4th, but they're going to release it to other people first. So yeah, this movie did so poorly. They are scrambling to make any kind of money they can from it. There's some things that are transparent whether you try to hide it or not, for the keen eye who pays attention to that nonsense.
Yeah, there's a reason Black Widow is not coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly. What else we got? We got any more stories?
I have a non-story.
Talk
You
to
know
me.
how the WWE said on October 2nd, you guys have a month, cancel your third-party apps like Cameo, like Twitch. The date has come.
WWE said that to their wrestlers. Yes. Excuse me. They don't have wrestlers. They've got the sports entertainers, the superstars.
You say that like the Paul Heyman promo. So
I could run a shoot promo anytime on freaking Vince McMahon. Go on.
he sent another final message allegedly that
Mhm.
was leaked, and it's like, this is your final warning, everyone, just a reminder that after tomorrow things change. Okay, well, it's tomorrow, nothing's changed. A couple of people changed their names from their arena names to their real life, and we're
Which
good.
apparently Vince McMahon owns their real names.
Yeah, I think he's saying that if you have to use your WWE name, 50% of the income will go to us, and
Mhm.
50% will go to you, and we're taking that from your downside contract. So don't use your WWE name, which I believe he has every right to say. That's the reason you branded these guys with the WWE name. You should not be on Twitch calling yourself what you call yourself on TV, especially after you agreed that this is intellectual property of you, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. But if you use your real name, you're good.
Was that in their contracts when they signed the contracts?
It's in everyone's contract that this is the character, and WWE owns it.
But they
Pretty
were
sure.
allowed to do these things and they weren't stopped before. And what I'm
Yeah,
saying is, was it in their contracts that they owe 50% if that's the case?
yeah, they're making that shit up. Yeah,
Exactly. So they're renegotiating contracts forcibly.
not really. There, I would say that they could use 100% of that money because they own the character's name. They're being, they're being nice by
They're
making it
being
50%.
generous, huh? Oh, they're being generous.
No, they are
It
though.
was never stated that the idea that he's saying you're going to owe me 50%, I would love to see it in the contract that such and such and such. That wasn't stated before, that was never enforced before. They're saying that we're going to start enforcing this thing that is in your contract. Hey, because I'm saying if I have something in somebody's contract, it is business sense that you remind people such and such is in your contract. Every single contract that I have ever signed, I
Hmm.
have always been reminded, hey, as a reminder, as per your contract, and that includes leases. If you got a lease on an apartment or something like that, they will always say, as per section blah 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 subsection A in your lease agreement, boom 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 boom. So you can look at it as, oh, I did sign away for this. So the idea that they never did that
No, they
before,
did. They did. It doesn't say Twitch,
that
Cameo,
50%,
anything, but it says that WWE owns the name. So Undertaker is not Mark
yeah,
properly.
okay, but did it ever say that they owned the name Mark Calloway?
No, never say
No.
that. No.
Did it ever say that they're supposed to give 50% if they use their WWE name?
Specifically does not say that. It just says we own the
So
WWE name,
so boom.
which means 100%.
So yeah, of course, of course, of course. So the idea is like, listen, we've already talked about the idea that like this is almost a moot point in my viewpoint. Like you're agreeing with me. It was never in their contracts, these things. If they want to turn around and say, no, no, no. The things that I argued, you're
Yeah.
arguing yours. Yes, you're right. I'm arguing my too. Yes, I'm right. The contract never stated a separation of these things. It never stated that they own their real names, only that they own their stage names, which they were forced to
Yeah.
have or to change if they already had a previous stage name,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So John Morrison is John Morrison in WWE. Can he still use his Johnny Nitro name? So that's if he goes as Johnny Nitro, is that okay? Well, I don't know. Vince owns the old WCW, so like I don't know. So can he use what did he call himself in Lucha
Johnny
Underground?
Mundo.
Johnny Mundo. Can he just use Johnny Mundo then? So that's the thing. It's always this big thing, like where Vince is going to keep on changing and changing and changing because me, me, me. They were also supposed to be promised like what 5% of the cut for DVD sales and merch sales and blah 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 blah. But merch sales are dwindling, and the cut from anything other than merch is all gone for the most part because it's all going to the WWE network, which Vince was supposed to renegotiate, find some way so that they can make money off of this. Hey, you're using my likeness, your name, but my likeness, my skill, my work, boom, boom, boom. It's in my contract that you're supposed to pay me for such and such for DVD sales, but then you took away the DVD sales.
So he's not breaking a rule. He's just being a savvy businessman.
And Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes because he's a savvy businessman.
Yeah, that's true. And we get
That's
to vote.
absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
A crook is a crook is a crook, and that's
I'm
all
not
that it
saying
comes
Vince
down
isn't a
to.
crook, yeah.
The idea of loopholes indicate being a crook. So savvy businessman, crook, I don't choose to look at the two as the exact same thing.
Yeah,
If
but
you
I
were to,
wasn't arguing things like that. I was just
Mhm.
talking about the Twitch stuff, not specifically DVD sales going to streaming and losing that
No,
source of revenue.
understood, but the way I look at it is it's a greater extension of what Vince McMahon is doing.
Mhm.
Clearly, the business is failing. Vince McMahon is no longer considered a millionaire or multimillionaire or billionaire anymore, right? He's close to being just a regular old humble millionaire at this point. And living on the street that he lives on, that's kind of unacceptable. He might be forced to move. At the end of the day, the guy he's breaking his back trying to keep himself out there. It's like the poor millionaire or billionaire is no longer a multi-billionaire. Oh, the poor baby, I feel so bad for him. As opposed to the guys who have to travel oftentimes by car to all these different shows here, there, wherever, because the business is going down. I find that when you're more fair with the business and you not forget about just competition, which alone would make the product better. But the idea that when you actually share with your employees, you actually give them a little bit more. You don't choke them to try and get more money and squeeze more money out of them. Sometimes the product turns out to be better because they actually care about these things. But Vince, yeah, go on.
In the workplace will pay off.
Positivity in the workplace will pay off. Yeah. But the AEW thing is no longer a threat, right? It's like, they're talking about they're going to have to start laying people off pretty soon too. Matt Cardona, Long Island Iced Tea, whatever the heck you're supposed to pronounce that as. He was only there for a temporary venture with AEW. Miro, Rusev, the former Rusev, he gets to go over there for a while. But I mean, realistically, like
Why
most
do you think
of
they're
these
not competition though? The 18 to 49 demographic for them is way
what
more
I'm saying, competition as far as contracts are concerned. Before, remember when he was signing everybody to huge 5-year contracts because he didn't want AEW to scoop them up? Yeah, he's not worried about that anymore. So you want to go to AEW? Freaking go to AEW.
Because he got AJ Styles and Randy Orton and the Usos and the people he wanted to sign.
He was doing that for a whole lot more people too. He was doing that for everybody. And then what did he do? He started cutting contracts, and he's just like, yeah, you're not allowed to cut a contract because I'll sue you. And it's like Sasha Banks, when she was pissed off, and she said, I'm going to go to Jamaica. Huh?
And she re-signed.
Okay, but she was still stuck to her contract. She couldn't get out of her contract, right? No, it actually gets even better than that. It's the idea that they said, since you're not showing up and honoring your contract stays. You're not going to wait out your contract until it ends. No. You're still on, if you were on day 49, you're still on day 49 until you come back a year later or whatever the hell it is.
That's very fair.
It's not fair if Vince McMahon doesn't have to go by the same thing. If Vince McMahon gets to say, yeah, I'm just going to release you from your contract, deal with it, and you still have to wait 30 days or 90 days before you can compete with our company and go someplace else.
The 90-day non-compete clause is something, I can't say this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure it's something that you as a performer agree to, just so that you can get paid for 90 days.
Yeah, does Vince get that? No, because he was still able to use fake Diesel and fake Undertaker and fake Scott Hall.
How does that have to do with the 90 days?
Fake whatever. Well, how come he doesn't have a 90-day no-compete clause? This was my character. I played that character. I brought life to that character. Yeah, but you get to just use that character.
Because he owns the name Diesel and he owns
okay, so let's just be realistic. If it's fair for the goose, it should be fair for the gander. But a gander is a baby goose. Anyway, like it doesn't seem very fair to me.
Okay, what am I saying that's fair for one but not fair for the other?
Oh, what was the thing that we were just talking about before this?
Razor Ramon and Diesel?
Right before that. The idea that like I said, non-compete clause is only for one side, not for the other. Well, that's not really fair.
If you agree to a non-complete clause, then it's
okay. Enough. Please, Chillmonger, please stop with the agreeing things. Because if I put a gun to your head, and I say sign this thing, then and you sign the thing, you agree to the thing, right? So agreement is one thing. What I'm talking about is the idea. What I'm talking about is the idea that he turns around and he says, sign this contract. And they say, okay, let me look over the stuff. I agree with this contract. So they sign the contract. So he gets, and I'm not talking about a gun to your head right now. I'm saying they both agreed to a contract. What's her name? Sasha Banks can't get out of her contract, but Vince can get out of any contract that he wants. Please explain to me how that's fair.
Sasha Banks agrees to that stipulation. When you give
I'm not hearing I'm hearing one side of it. How about the Vince McMahon part? If he decides, if she breaks her neck and he decides, I'm going to get out of this contract, or you suddenly suck, I'm going to get out of this contract, or he says it with anybody else, I'm going to get out of this contract.
In the contract, if you break your neck, the WWE has to take care of you.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Chillmonger, seriously, you are dancing around this, and you're a horrible dancer. Chillmonger with Miro, with
what did
Russo.
I not answer before you go to Miro? What did I dance around? What did you need?
Stop. Okay, I'm giving you it. I'm giving it to you now. With Miro, with Russo, Rusev, he broke the contract. Vince McMahon broke the contract with him, right?
He fired him.
So he broke a contract. You're scheduled for 5 years, but I'm not going to let you go for the whole thing. And he didn't even do anything wrong. He didn't do this, that, or the other thing. He just said,
You're not over.
Well, actually he was, but he still said, I'm just not into you.
Yeah.
I'm just not that into you. So he broke a contract with him.
True.
How come Vince McMahon can break contracts, but talent can't? Please explain that.
Okay. I can't explain this without repeating what I was saying previously. There's things like in sports, like no trade clauses, where Carmelo Anthony says, no, I'm going to be a Knick as long as I want, unless I choose to get traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And unless I choose that, then you can't move me. So wrestlers don't put that clause in their contract where you can't fire me for these 5 years. It's what they negotiate. So the consent is given from wrestlers that you can fire me in this 5-year period. They allow it to happen to them. When they're in the negotiation table.
Have you seen these contracts?
Yeah, I've seen them get fired, so I know it's not in the contract that you can.
No.
What do you mean? No, that's exactly what that means.
That's
if you can get fired, then you don't have a you can't fire me clause. That's what that means.
Chillmonger, I think that you need to get beaten up a lot more in the business world. I'm not talking about physically punched in the face. I'm saying I think you need to get your ass handed to you in the business world a lot more. To have a huge company that you've got no chance of suing fire you or do something, wrongful termination, something, and you're just like, you go to a lawyer and they just tell you, okay, here's my rate, and I'm telling you right now, you've got a very small chance of winning because they've got like 6 lawyers. You know what I'm saying? And they're top notch and they're going to be on this 24 hours. And I've got other cases that I could possibly win. So I don't think that your chances are very good. And every lawyer you go to says the same thing. And you're just like, yeah, I'm not making any more money right now because, I was wrongfully terminated. My contract was illegally broken. Just because somebody doesn't call you on something doesn't mean that it was fair. A cop wrongfully shooting somebody but getting away from it because getting away with it because their unions are the best in the world, does that mean that the cop is innocent? No, the cop is guilty. But the unions won't allow for evidence to get out for all sorts of different things. Sometimes it does, but for the most part, it doesn't. There are all sorts of cases in the world where the rich wind up overtaxing the poor because what are you going to do? I fired you. I knew how much you were making. I knew how much you were worth the whole time. I paid you, and now I'm not paying you. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to me? That's the thing. It's a big bully. That's what the world is. That's what Vince McMahon is.
Bullies. I know that.
So at the end of the day, breaking a contract is breaking a contract. It's not supposed to be a one-sided contract. They both sign the contract. Unless I see in there, this contract only means I own you for 5 years unless I'm tired of you and I decide to throw a toy away.
No, Professor Bill. Yes, that's what it says. That they're the party known as WWE can fire you.
Have you seen? Now I asked you, have you seen that the contract? And you said I've seen it in the sense that people get fired and they don't sue. So I'm saying, have you actually physically held a contract, one of their contracts in your hand, or seen it on the internet, whatever, and actually read these clauses? Okay. Can you show this for me?
I can twist that. The answer is no, but I can twist that around to you too. Can you show me otherwise that it doesn't say that? or that it does
Oh,
say
Jesus.
I'm holding you to
A
the same
lack of
standard you're holding me
no,
to,
you think
and
you are,
that's
but
oh
you're
Jesus.
Chillmonger. Sometimes it's better to keep quiet and leave the doubt that maybe you don't know what you're talking about, as opposed to open your mouth and remove all doubt. The lack of evidence is not proof of something. Chillmonger, do you have a brain?
Hmm.
Because I can't see your brain. I would have to crack your head open to see your brain. So
You
until
don't have to use the analogy. I understand what you mean by that.
okay, well, this is actually an old thing that I used against a college professor before. Um, what is cold? What is cold, Chillmonger?
The absence of heat.
Thank you, because there is no such thing as cold. We measure cold by thermals, which is a measurement of heat. So the lack of thermals goes to what we call cold. Light is light. There is no such thing as dark. Dark is the absence of light. It's not the opposite. It's a different thing. It's a theoretical concept based on the idea of the absence of
I love
something.
how you're
So
getting into the light and the cold just to explain the Vince McMahon contract.
to no, this is to explain to you that the absence of proof of something isn't acknowledgement that the thing exists.
Yeah. Not only have they not sued, but I've also never heard someone complain. This was in the contract that I was unfireable and it was no fair. Not that they didn't take legal action, but in a shoot interview when
Not
everything
unfireable. It's
flies.
okay to be fired for something. It's one thing to be able to be fired for something.
Hmm.
What I am saying is a lot of these guys are arguing that this isn't fair, that they let me go without cause. It's like being fired for a baloney reason.
Okay, who said that? That they were let go without a cause and said that it wasn't right.
Dude, there's a lot of these guys talking about it. Oh, for crying out loud, who's the people talking about this stuff? Okay, I don't know right now.
If
So
they
there,
say
that
if
you
they
can
say
hold
it
against
wasn't
me.
if they say it wasn't right because creatively
Anyway,
they had
even
more to
anyway,
give.
again, you keep on going with the whole thing with consent, and my whole thing is a contract isn't a real contract if only one side is held accountable for a contract. That's a display of power, and it's
I
just not
agree with
fair.
that.
It's not
I
equality.
agree with that
So
a lot. Like all
boom.
of that is something I agree with.
So like I said, the original story of this was that WWE, would you say,
The
they're
October
they're
2nd date has come and
mhm,
passed,
mhm.
and no one's Twitch has been hijacked by the WWE or cameos that I know of.
Seemingly, it is the weekend.
Hmm.
It is currently the weekend. So maybe Monday we'll see that such and such has happened. Okay, moving on.
Two more topics.
Yep.
Comichron, their top 5 estimates for August is dominated by DC. We've
Mhm.
got Batman 3 Jokers, which was the highest selling book. Then we got just regular old Batman as the number 2 and number 3 because it's a bi weekly book. Then Dark Knight's Metal number 3 came out. That's the fourth. And the top 5 book is Detective Comics 1025. DC is back. It's been a while.
What's the fourth one?
I just closed that tab. Hold on. It's
Uh,
yeah, Dark Knight's Death Metal issue 3.
oh, Dark Knight Death Metal.
Are they all
Okay, so
Batman?
Batman is so four of them are Batman. One of them has Batman in it.
He is a one-man publisher.
So what do you think this means?
It means that Jeff Johns is a really good writer, right?
Hmm.
And it also means that James Tynion is kicking ass and Batman's back.
Hmm.
What else would that mean? Is that a leading question because you had an answer yourself?
Uh, I philosophize. So I think more of the idea that, I mean, Batman is Batman. I mean,
Hmm.
Batman was selling high even when enough people were saying that they were so done with Tom King,
Yeah.
years ago. It was still selling high because it's freaking Batman. How do you not buy Batman? I'm one of the people who's just like, I'm going to stop buying Batman. But there's so many people who are just there are people like that with Spider-Man too. I was just talking to somebody 2 weeks ago at my comic book store. He's like, yeah, let me get all this stuff, boom, 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 boom. And oh no, actually it wasn't with Spider-Man. Anyway, it was with Action Comics and Superman. The guy was like, "Oh, this new Cinnamar guy." I was like, "Yeah." It was like Cinnabar. Like, is that a new cinnamon flavored candy bar or something like that? Who is this new villain in Superman? And he's just like, "Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been reading." Him. I was like, "You're still buying them?" He's like, "Yeah, of course. I'm still buying them. I'm still collecting them. I'm not reading them anymore. I don't like these stories. They're horrible." Like, every so often you got that collector that's just
Yeah.
like, "I got to do it. It's an addiction." I don't know what to tell you. When you It's like when the bar is, and again, it's hard to say this without disrespecting Tom King, but when the bar is so low that it's like, oh, Batman is back in his expected state of #1 comic. It's not saying a lot. Yeah, I really enjoy what Tinian's doing. There are a lot of people who don't care for what Tinian's doing. It is what it is. It's back to the original. I like this story. I don't like this story, as opposed to the majority of people saying somebody just ripped Tom King from these books because oh my god, and then go after that Bendis guy too because oh my god, you know, saying and ah. But is it also kind of? I mean, when you've got like the #1 character that you've got is Batman, and you only propagate that further by removing the Hawkman comic book, which actually hits me home personally. You know, like, how dare you? When you, like, that one hurts. When you remove all these other books out there and you say only Batman, for the most part, is what's going to be pushed, isn't that a manufactured prophecy?
Right.
It's horrible. It's like, yes, Batman is the best comic book we have. Yeah, but are you giving the other characters a chance?
Not really.
So
Put a good writer on the normal books, and you'll see what happens to them too. But when you get the best
yeah,
team working on the bi-weekly Batman book featuring Batman,
yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and
yeah,
this is not the way that you are supposed to run a company. I've never run a company this huge before, you know, the DC Comics aspect of Warner Brothers, AT&T, whatever. But come on,
but this is a combination of both that and it was a good idea to do this story called Three Jokers to well, it's been delayed as hell like for a long time. But I guess with
yeah.
the pandemic, Jeff Johns didn't have any movie stuff to be working on, so he got busy and started writing a comic. It's a good idea. It's something that the people wanted.
Let's also look at history. Um, there's this character called Shazam back when he was allowed to be called Shazam because he was
Captain
never
Marvel.
really, yeah, he was never really allowed to be called Shazam when he was with DC Comics. They did call him Captain Marvel, but they didn't have the right to call him Captain Marvel. Hell, they didn't even buy the character. They just kind of took the character because they allowed for the other company, Fawcett
Fawcett.
Comics, to go out of business. But the character Superman wasn't as popular as Captain Marvel. So how did that happen?
They
How,
gave them a whole bunch of legal trouble saying that you copied Superman and he's very similar.
so what did they have to fall back on when they decided, oh, the you know the golden age of comics is over, but here's the silver age, you know, saying let's come back because Fawcett Comics came back, but they agreed in, you know,
Mhm.
outside of court they agreed, yeah, we're not going to use Captain Marvel anymore. So DC said, well, since they can't, we will. They didn't buy it. They
I
didn't
think they
purchase
did buy it.
the character.
I think they
Didn't
bought
purchase.
Fawcett.
Didn't. mm, mm, They didn't purchase the character
I can fact
because
check
if
that.
they did, then Marvel wouldn't have been able to purchase the name away from them. So they actually purchased the name. They copyright the name and everything like that.
Okay, okay, yeah, the name, but not like Fawcett Comics.
Exactly. They got the name Captain Marvel because that's all they wanted. They didn't want to steal this character from anybody. And they didn't want to pay for it, whatever. Anyway, so Fawcett Comics tried to come back for the Silver Age, but they didn't have Captain Marvel to rely on anymore. And all of their other characters, can you name a single one of their other characters? It's not a
No.
problem because neither can I. You know what I'm saying? So when you are a one trick pony or a three-legged dog, when you don't have anything else to show, I mean, there's Batman. After that, there's technically Superman, but you're not really putting that much effort into it, are you? You know, saying not as much as this one thing. So, oh, they've got two things to go on. Cool. But if that fails, when the lights go out, then what happens? They're not learning from the mistakes that have benefited them all throughout history. When a company goes out of business like Charlton or Fox Studios Comics, you know what I'm saying? All these different studios go out of business and they just scoop them up. That's how they got the Watchmen. And still breaking their contract with Grant Morrison, with Alan Moore decades later. breaking their contract and Alan Moore not being rich enough to sue them. Like, what does that say? You know, say that like this is the only way that DC has ever gotten all of these characters together. They didn't have an R&D department to do this stuff. They screwed over Bill Finger to get what they had to do. DC has a terrible past with paying their people and taking care of their people. And now they're forgetting how they acquired the majority of those of those characters. And they're going to wind up falling into the exact same problem, because all it takes when you have a pinnacle so high as Batman and everything else is a very low threshold, what do you have if all of a sudden that character doesn't work anymore? Oh, that's right. You're done. You're done. Because too many people have forgotten about so many of the other characters out there. And they have nobody to blame but themselves.
That sounded very Star Wars. No one to blame but themselves.
Damn Jedi.
Ten of Swords came out. You strongly disliked the second chapter of this event, and I thought that it was worth celebrating that chapter 1 and chapter 2 flowed into each other.
So this is X-Force number 4, or X-Factor number 4. I know you don't want to call it X-Factor number 4, but it is X-Factor number 4, but it's considered chapter 2 or part 2 of the Ten of Swords story. Yes. Just wanted to make sure that that was put in the front.
Now, coming up this Wednesday, there's going to be a Wolverine book that's part 3, an X-Force book that's part 4, and a Marauders book that's part 5. I want you to laugh in my face, okay? If these stories are just separate things, and it's like, okay, it's a tie into an event. But I actually think, and I will actually get these 3 books, I think that they will flow into each other and make sense, considering Ben Percy is writing both of them with the same artist on both of them, Wolverine and X-Force. And then it'll flow into Marauders really nicely. And that this isn't tie-in event. This is Messiah Complex. This is one of those things where you got to read each one, and it is the logical next story. The progression is admirable. I love that Ten of Swords is doing this. And you can't see that. You don't,
as opposed to just making its own book and letting these guys continue telling the stories that they were already telling.
They will. When this event is over in December and they're back to normal, it's back to Kate Pryde trying to kill Sebastian Shaw for trying to kill her. It's back to that.
So all this stuff has to go on hiatus until then. See, this is what I'm saying.
So they should have named it something else?
Yeah, as opposed to just doing the X of Swords issue 1 through 22. Yeah. Would have been 16 first and then up to 22. Who knows what it'll be by the end of this, right? And then still have all of your regular books going. Why not just do that?
Yeah.
No, they decided to do an interlude with all this stuff. Because this way, if I don't want to read the Ten of Swords, if I'm literally looking at this and I'm just saying as I am, this is not interesting me. Like, it's too confusing. For like, I'm one of the first guys who actually broke down the cipher back there. I just pat myself on the back. I'm a genius, blah, 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 whatever. You know, saying I find all these things. I find all these breaks in the story, these secret things and whatnot. And I'm still saying, this is a little bit too complicated. I can't, like, it's not interesting enough for me to follow everything here. When I'm reading X Factor issue number 4, and there's only like the 2 white pages and the 1 other page full of descriptions, only 3 description pages. And I get about 4 or 5 sentences in. And I'm like, I don't care enough to read this. I'm rereading the same sentence over and over again because it's so boring. It's droll that I don't care. I don't care what happens in this page right now. You could tell me the secret to the universe and the end of this comic book. I'll miss it because I'm just not reading it because it's that boring. When you're milking the hell out of the story, it's like, okay, so this person died. So, like, please explain when you've got a comic book that is so steeped in physics. The Hoxpox books were so steeped in actual, real, theoretical physics. By the way, for the layperson who says, you just said actual, real, and then theoretical, that doesn't make sense. No, in the scientific community, theoretical is the highest you can get before you get to law. So theoretical is way better than a lousy hypothesis. Theoretical means here's everything, proof, this is what happened, but we're leaving it open that maybe there could be something else that would explain it even better. But we're positive that this is in most regard, 90%, the way that it works. We're leaving
Indubitably.
open that there could also be a bit of something else, in there also that we didn't see, you know what I'm saying? But a theory is, dude, no, a theory is essentially that. Gravity is a theory. You know what
I
I'm saying?
concur.
Yeah, gravity is a theory. And you want to say it's just a theory, go stand on the edge of a cliff, wait for the boot. I will prove theories are very, very real. Anyway, so when they're giving actual theories for quantum physics, for Newtonian physics, when they're sitting here and they're practically freaking finding the universal theory for everything that will combine the two, when they're talking about what do you call the different, what the hell they call the phalanx and all these different things, when they're really getting into this stuff, and then they turn around and they say, oh yeah, even though we'll have a week long thing of your mind every week, we'll photocopy your mind,
Yeah.
but then today, even though we photocopied your mind 2 days ago, today you went into Otherworld and you died.
Yeah.
When we bring you back, boom, you're gone. When the
Yeah.
only thing you say is,
That's the
yeah, but it's
power.
magic. It's like,
Yeah, that's the power of Otherworld.
I'm
It is
so
a
done. I'm
comic book.
so done.
All right.
Please explain how that makes sense. Because was the memory backup there? The body
No.
itself isn't there. So what exactly is there? Because we've already seen that you can clone people and they're technically two different people until the mind is put in. Case in point, Maddie Pryor and Jean Grey. We already know how clones work in the Marvel Universe. So what has changed?
Hmm.
If you're in Otherworld, where's that explanation? And they don't bother giving an actual explanation, just this is what happens. Ooh.
Because it's
And they
magic.
start focusing on all this stuff with freaking what's her name? Polaris getting way too invested.
In Rockslide, which she had no relationship with prior to, yeah.
Like, what? What is this? Where did this come from?
Maybe that's the X Factor part of the book, where Leah Williams wanted to insert that, make it her own. But there was a whole lot of here that felt like a Jonathan Hickman book. Maybe he was giving her like 10 dot notes.
No. Hickman would have been a whole lot more onto this. There would have been a lot more actual theory involved in this. There would have been a lot more science involved in this. But instead, this is a lot of Teeny Howard. And again, I'm sorry, my peeps. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of a master mage or something like that. But I mean, for the love of God, I got into second degree in the Ordo Templari Orientalis. You know what I'm saying? I've known many, many, many Wiccans since before I was even in the army in 1993. I've been involved in the magical community for a really long time, a long time ago. I understand the tenets of thaumaturgy. I understand how the tarot works. Multiple tarot works. I can take a deck of cards and do tarot. I don't need a Llewellyn deck. Teeny Howard does not know as much about the occult as I do. And when I'm sitting here reading this, I'm reading a dilettante, and I've talked about this with the X Factor books. This looks like a dilettante. This looks like some person who read a couple. Like I'm going to the electrical unions right now. There's novice, dilettante, craftsman, and master electrician, and so on and so forth. Your levels of knowledge. Like she's read a couple things. I really doubt she's actually sat at the feet and learned from people. You know what I'm saying? This is more just like, I'm going to read a couple books. They could have been Llewellyn books, which are the most ridiculous things in the world. It's like reading Deepak Chopra and calling yourself a freaking theologian. No, you're not. Like, it's fiction. Deepak Chopra writes fiction. It's inspired fiction, but it's fiction. For the love of God, this woman doesn't know. And all the love in the world, I'm sure she's a very wonderful human being who, mind you, admitted a month ago in a Marvel Voices podcast that she cannot identify with the heroes. She only identifies with villains. I can't wrap my mind around how she could be put in charge of doing comic books that involve magic, least off put in charge of writing for heroes. There have been people, even before I've been saying it, that have argued that these comic books don't feel like the X-Men are heroes anymore. And I've dug it because I was expecting it to go someplace. but it hasn't gone anyplace.
Hmm.
They're literally villains. You've got Beast
Well, she's
being
writing Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. This weak character is getting his butt kicked. I don't like I said, I can't blame Leah Williams for anything except the idea that she's also agreed that she can't relate to writing, heroes. She likes the anti-hero and the villain. She relates more to the villain. They're much more interesting. Why are you writing superhero comics then? I'm sorry. This whole thing is just, in my opinion, the everything that I've been reading that's leading up to this Ten of Swords stuff is such an utter failure in the making. And we're here, we're there now, and I'm seeing it. This is not Jonathan Hickman's Avengers or his Fantastic Four, any of the stuff that he's done before. This
His
isn't his
name is on it.
freaking, huh?
His name is on it, and I'm gonna hold him to the fire. It's not just Teeny Howard. He killed Rockslide when Rockslide should be unkillable because there's plenty of times where he's been broken in half.
Yeah, I watched your review.
And so should you on Chillmonger. Be my 670 subscriber.
Now you're getting there, dude.
Mm.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, you're going to spend a lot more time under 1,000 than above 10,000. I promise you that. What do you call it? Yeah, I'm just not feeling this. So what are you liking so much about the comic
I
book?
like how one flows into the other.
That's it.
Yeah, that's like the main thing. It's not just a money grab. It actually
So if
feels
you're
like
not enjoying this comic book
no. I'm
series,
also enjoying it. Like I got to see Moira underwater. Oh, that's where she is this whole time. Okay, I'm getting stuff.
we knew that she was in that room. She was in Moira's hideaway, whatever the hell the thing is called. She said she would leave once in a while by her own personal gate to go and visit, what was it, France or something like that once in a while. But for the most part, nah, she just stays in that room. I don't know what she's doing in that room,
I
but
know
she's in
she's
that
in that
room the whole
room.
time.
Now I know
She's
she's
in that
in
room.
that room though. She could
Well,
have
we always knew
gone.
that she was in the room.
She could have
They
been anywhere
literally
else.
showed one image of her going, oh, it's like, I
She's
don't
just
know.
chilling
What did
there.
that do?
I mean, it just tells me that's where she is. That's one of the things. But also,
But we already
death is
knew.
back. Finally, death. Even though I disagree with why when you die in Otherworld magic. Okay, as long as they don't contradict that, I'm good. Everyone who dies in Otherworld, it'll be a final death. Let's keep it that way. But death is finally back, and now there's stakes.
You haven't been reading Excalibur, right?
Not all of them.
Okay, I can't remember when this happened, but in one of the books, Rogue killed Apocalypse. Where did that happen? Was that another world?
Oh, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember where it was. It might have been at the lighthouse.
Yeah, right before they went to the portal. Yeah.
Yeah, or when they first came out. I don't remember, but
well, if it was Otherworld, then that was a big contradiction right there. And if it wasn't, then it wasn't.
It's just the idea of all of this, dude. Like this is just getting to be too much.
I'm sad Rockslide died. Like R.I.P. This guy was a cool character, and I know no one's bringing him back.
They didn't even, whether they do or not, it doesn't matter. It's the idea, like, what did they do to bring him up for the people who weren't that familiar with him?
They used him in X-Men issue 11 and X-Men issue 12.
2 issues.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel so
emotionally attached.
Yeah. Ah, you know what I'm saying? Why did they kill this 2-issue character?
Mm-hmm.
Booty. This is booty.
People have used him before. People have used him like Chris
exactly. And I guess we better hope that they've read that character before. Because for a whole lot of people who haven't been reading comic books for the past 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, and they're like, oh, this is supposed to be a big event. Let me check it out. And they're just like, yeah, I don't really remember anything about Rockslide. Oh, he died.
Except for me. I like that character a whole lot. Like, top 10 favorite X-Men.
Cool.
And there he goes. They better keep Dust safe. She's too valuable. I think they're going to use her in a movie for, diversity because they like that. So
I'm sure they will. In the comics, however, she was going to be used by Jim Zub for a little while in the Champions book, and then they just canceled the Champions book.
Tartar sauce.
Yeah.
It's coming back this week. Interested in that. That'll be my first review this Wednesday. Champions.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been the Comic Book University podcast. Do the outro, please.
The outro includes, I want to hear more of your opinions based on what, check out my review for X Factor number 4. Check out Chillmonger's review for X Factor number 4. Listen again to what we just said here at the bottom of this podcast. And we both want to hear your opinion. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Chillmonger? Do you disagree with both of us and have your own thing? Do you have agreements that, go with both of ours? Are you okay with the contradictions? Do you not see them as contradictions? We are both genuinely curious what you think about the book, because this is actually kind of big for us. So it should be big for all of us, any of us X-Men fans, any of us Marvel fans, any of us comic book fans. This is a really big deal as far as I see it. Also, what do you think about the reveal from the women voices, Women of Marvel podcast, that apparently none of the women involved in there can associate or can identify as heroes or with the heroes specifically? That is very troubling to me. Anyway, guys, we are out of here. Professor Bill and Chillmonger, Comic Book University, class
Class
dismissed.
dismissed.